Hi fantasy managers, welcome to FPL Team Talk. In this video we're going to discuss transfers for game week 10. We're going to have a look at those players that are popular in terms of transfers out and in. We'll have a look at my side, who am I intending to bring in, and look at some key players that are on our radar for game week 10 and beyond. So if you enjoy these sorts of videos, make sure you hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell to get the latest content, and in the meantime, let's have a look. Where better to start then and looking at those players that have been the most popular to bring in for game week 10. Nowhere else really we should start than Leandro Trossard, the hat-trick hero at Anfield. No surprise then that people are bringing him in. 6.7, he looks like a really nice price. 7 games he's played this season, 5 goals he scored, 2 assists. His XGI looks pretty decent. It's not up there with the likes of De Bruyne or Salah, but it's certainly better than the likes of Saka. 0.54. That's okay. Remember, you're only paying 6.7 for him as well. I'd imagine with Gross being sold, this is quite an easy transfer across to him. For me, I'm not particularly interested in him at the moment. I don't think his price point is enough in an area where I'm quite interested. I think there's enough 8s out there with lots of Maddison, even Harvey Barnes, or possibly would go better than Trossard at the moment. His fixtures just don't look appealing. Tottenham at home will not be easy. Then you've got Brentford away, City and Chelsea in the middle of all that. You do have Forest at home, but I'm not going to be bringing him in just for that one game. 6.7, probably a little bit too on the rich side for me to think about sticking on the bench. But for 460, nearly half a million managers, they like the look of him, they bring him in. Can't argue too much. I just don't think I'll trust those fixtures so much. But 500,000 would disagree with me. Next, and another one people are bringing in, another hat-trick hero, is Phil Foden. Obviously, he got the 3 goals in the Manchester derby at the weekend. He's had a great season so far. He's started every game for Man City. Now, any player that's going to be nailed in that Man City side that's playing as far forward as Phil Foden is going to be of interest to us. 5 goals now, 3 assists. XGI looks really good at 0.69. He leads the way at the moment, I would say, in terms of those £8 million midfielders. Maybe you would rather go Maddison just because of the extra fixture, and that's the problem with Phil Foden. Whereas he has a great game against Southampton, he then plays away at Liverpool, and he doesn't have the fixture in game week 12. So you have to factor that in if you're going to be bringing him now. How are you going to get through that game week 12? I don't want to be bringing in someone who I'm going to have to transfer out and back in again. Feels like I'm burning a lot of transfers. I already own Foden. I intend to carry him through for that game week 12, but I've got to make sure I've got 11 other playing players in the side to do that. 8.1, he's already gone up. Expecting to possibly go up again before the end of the week. He looks really good, but just be aware that game week 12 you can get through that and still have 3 City players. Another player that people are jumping on as well, another Manchester City player, and I can see why the attraction with De Bruyne, again pretty nailed in that Man City midfield, dealing with 8 appearances. He's got 9 goal involvements already, 1 goal, 8 assists. Would much rather have more goals. But his expected goal involvement right up there with the rest of them. 0.97, impressive. Better than Salah, better than Son, much better than Saka. You are, of course, paying premium prices for him. And again, off penalties. So I'm not sure if that adds to his appeal. And I can see why people just going straight from Salah to De Bruyne. For me, I think I would just go straight to Foden. I'm saving myself 4.3 million by going to Foden. And I think there's enough value in using that money elsewhere than spending it all on De Bruyne. But I can see why people are going De Bruyne. He's having a great season. Again, exceeding his XGI. But if he keeps that up, he's going to be an asset probably we're all going to want to hold on to. Lastly, here's another one. He was on here last week, and that is Saliba. He has now moved up to 5 million. People keep getting hold of him. 2 goals, 1 assist. Had that monster haul the other day. XGI is going down all the time. He just cannot keep that up as a centre-back, 0.15. But you know what? It's better than Cancelo. It's a decent return. 150,000 people bringing him in. Brought him in heavily last week. I'm just not sure I'm in agreement with this. You've got Liverpool at home, whereas Arsenal top of the league playing really well. I can see easily that Liverpool could score against Arsenal. That means then you're really relying on a clean sheet away at Leeds, which wouldn't be difficult. It wouldn't be easy. Then you have a blank. So Southampton, Forest and the fixtures after look fantastic. But to bring him in now, I'm not in agreement with that. I definitely think an Arsenal defender is on the horizon and someone I'd like to target. but possibly looking at game week 13, not this game week with Liverpool at home. That seems like a strange week to bring him in for me. Let's have a look at those players then that have been transferred out. No real surprise. Mo Salah, it's worth reminding that he's having a decent season. He is returning. He's got 2 goals, 4 assists, and it's not that bad. 0.87 expected goal involvement. The problem is you've got Haaland, and he's the obvious captaincy choice at the moment, and that's just seeming to hurt Salah owners. With the likes of Foden and Maddison also scoring heavily, you can save a lot of money, and even moving down to KDB will save you money. And just the fact that Man City are just scoring so many goals, I can see why people are moving off of him. I didn't have him on the wildcard. I do think there's a case for bringing him back into game week 12. There's a decision to be there made as to which Liverpool asset you're going to go for. But Arsenal away, Man City at home, they look tricky games. Just wonder whether or not he's worth holding on. We know how good Salah can be. But I can't blame people for jumping off him as well. And yes, saving a lot of money if you move to someone like Phil Foden. But it's that game week 12 that I think we need to just be aware of on the horizon. As well as Salah then, another player that's hit the headlines for injury really is Mitrovic. Brought off early in the game against Newcastle. So far this season he's been fantastic. 6 goals, no assists, just dealing the goals on pens, nailed in that Fulham side. 0.46, decent, and he is quite a good budget striker up front. He's a set and forget slot. He's got some great fixtures coming up. Now I own Mitrovic, and unless I get word about his injury being more serious than initially is thought, I think I'm just going to hold him. If he misses that West Ham game, I'm not going to be too upset. If he's, as long as I know he's going to be back for the Bournemouth, Villa, Leeds and Everton. I mean, he's got 3 out of 4 home games there. I'm definitely going to want to start him in those. If I think he's going to be out for several weeks, then I'm going to have to look to ship on. But at the moment, ball accounts, it seems like it was precautionary he's bought off at the weekend and they're going to assess him. We just got to wait and see. But I'm not going to get rid of him yet, unless I'm going to upgrade him to someone else, because I just don't think there's any other obvious choice, especially with good fixtures like that. So for me, it's just a hold for the time being. Another player that Liverpool FPL owners are getting rid of, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Yeah, I can see he's hauled once this season. And for such an expensive, the most expensive defender in the game, you can see why people are getting rid of him. I owned him, I brought him in the wild card, and looking back, I don't know, was that a good decision or not? With Walker getting injured, perhaps I'm now wishing I went to Cancelo. And with these 2 tricky games coming up, Arsenal and City, I do think I was relying on that Brighton game for a clean sheet too much. A lot of people are taking him out. He'll continue to go out. He might even drop in price. XGI looks okay, but I think for those fixtures in game week 12, 13, 14 and beyond, I just think I'm going to hold him. I will have to end up playing him against Arsenal, possibly even bench him for Man City. But he is still good for an attacking threat, and those fixtures beyond just look too good. I'm going to want another Liverpool defender in before those fixtures to get on them. So I might just hold Trent, but I can understand why people are getting rid of him and moving on to better, cheaper assets. That eventually ended game week 9 then. Start off on 2.2 million. I played my wild card. So this is where I am. Trent obviously didn't record any sort of return for me. Mitrovic and Walker both injured, so that was a bit of a blow. Really just 3 players just saving my bacon, I guess you could say, or making my week. Maddison, Foden and Haaland captain. Wow, what a monster haul. Trippier and Zuma both got some points as well. Ward on the bench, his first clean sheet. Not going to kick myself too much about that. But I rose from 2.2 and now I'm inside the top 933,000. So I'm really pleased with the way that's panned out. Have to say, anyone who's knocking around at 1 million, just remember you're in the top 10%, and that's pretty good. And I think this is possibly the hardest FPL season, most competitive that it's ever been. And the fact that we've got wild card, basically when the World Cup starts, we'll get another one after the new year as well. So a lot of teams are going to again go back to kind of this template formation. It's going to make it even harder to gain points. So top 10k finishes that were a little bit more common, it seemed, and felt within the community, I think that's going to be really hard. Anyone who gets up near that is going to have done really well, just really competitive. This is how my team would set up then for game week 10. I've got 1 free transfer to use. My intention, I think, at the moment is just not to use it. I don't want it. The intention was always not to use it to carry to another free transfer through. I've just used my wild card, so I don't want to then just do another transfer straight away. The only thing that could change that is if in Mitrovic and Walker, news comes out that their injuries are a lot worse than they initially were thought. We don't know much about Walker's. If he's going to be out for 2 or 3 weeks, or even if he's just going to miss that Southampton game, I am tempted to bring him out. I do want a Man City player, and we'll have a look at options. They are limited, but I don't want a Man City slot just being filled by Walker sat there on the bench, because I've also got to get through game week 12. So he's not going to play in that. He's got Liverpool away as well. So, there's no value in having Walker in that side. So we'll have a look at options for that. What I am very conscious of, I'll talk about Haaland. He's absolutely captain now on Southampton. Don't even think that's worth having a conversation about. Is these game week fixtures. So remember, we're playing up to game week 16 now. It's pretty much a shootout until then, because we'll be able to rehash our side when the World Cup starts. The fixtures that we need to be aware of then is Manchester City do have that great fixture against Southampton, away at Liverpool, then a blank, and then 4 pretty decent fixtures after that. So I'm going to want Man City assets, preferably 3 of them, for game week 13, 14, 15 and 16. Free hitting for me is out the window. I'm not free hitting in game week 12. I don't think it's going to be optimal to do that. The fact that Man City and Arsenal aren't playing just takes a lot of the big hitters out of it. I'm going to be saving that until after the new year, when there'll be fixtures galore and double weeks to fit back in. So I've got to negotiate that game week 12, and I'm still going to want 3 Man City assets after it. Haven't got any little Arsenal assets, but again, look at Arsenal's fixtures after that game week 12. Southampton, Forest, great fixtures. Wolves away as well, not bad. So come game week 13, I'm going to want pretty much 3 or 4 players. How am I going to negotiate that? That's what I've got to be aware of. And Liverpool's fixtures in game week 12 look pretty good as well. So I can definitely jump on them between game week 12 and the rest of the season. The likes of Salah and Diaz suddenly become a conversation. Trent, if I just keep hold of him now, that would be the easy option. Then I'll get in for those 3 fixtures. I don't really got the luxury, I don't think, of burning a transfer to get rid of Trent, to then just bring him back in game week 12, 13, 14, especially when I've got lots of Walker, who's possibly going to be out for a while, and I want to bring back Arsenal players. Ideally, I want 3 Man City players. I can bench them in game week 12. Then I can make 2 transfers to bring in maybe someone like a Martinelli, Saka or Jesus, or another Liverpool player. It's just a lot of players that I'm going to want from those sides that I haven't got right now. So I've got to bear all that in mind in my transfer plans. So some of the players I could look at, if Walker's out, Gomez is an option. Gomez 4.5, it saves me money straight away. The only problem I have with Gomez is that we only got a straw poll in terms of his figures. He's already got more returns than Walker, 0.1 assist. It's possible that Cancelo plays on one side, Stones or Ake comes in, plays on the other. That is possibly what might happen. I think Gomez just comes in for Walker. However, I think when Walker's fit, he just displaces Gomez straight away, which gives me a problem. Do I take out Walker, put Gomez in for Southampton, but then when Walker comes back, I'm going to want him for game week 13 and 14, 15 and 16. So I'm just making a transfer now and having to transfer it back later on. I guess in a selfish ideal way, will be great is we hear Walker's going to be out fit for the World Cup, out until game week 16, then Gomez comes in. Better still, Walker's just fit for Southampton. That's the fixture I really want, Gomez. We're going to have to play that by ear and wait and see what happens with the press conference. But I do want some Man City defender. The other choice I could go with would be a Akanji. Again, his attacking threat and potential is very, very limited. Just move straight across from Walker to Akanji. But with Laporte back, Diaz knocking around now, Ake, how nailed on is Akanji? That's my issue. He's played the last 2 games. Is he nailed or not? I just don't know. I could bring him in for Walker, find out that he's not really playing much football when Walker's fit for game week 13, and then suddenly I've got the problem where I'm going to move Akanji back to Walker again. It's a transfer I don't want to have to make. So these are the 2 choices I've got. I don't trust Ake to play minutes. Laporte, I don't know when he's going to be back. I'm not sure what. Diaz wasn't playing the weekend. So I've got a few things, and Pep doesn't give us a lot on press conferences. Again, I think I'll be relying on training issues. Let's see whether Walker's fit again. I think when Walker's fit, he just comes into the side. It's just a case of how long is he out for. So that was Akanji. Let's have a look. Then another player that I'm looking at for game week 12. He slid onto the radar, and I've got mixed feelings about him. He has had an amazing season so far. Roberto Firmino, he's not a player I want to bring in so far, but he has scored, as we saw there, 5 goals, 3 assists. He's started 5 of the last 6 games. He's only played 90 minutes twice, I will say that. So he is getting transferred, or not transferred, but he's getting rested quite quickly in games. His minutes are being managed. Nunes and Jota are knocking around as well. But his XGI is fantastic. Over 1. He has been absolutely brilliant for Liverpool. 7.9. What a differential he could be. I'm not going to look at bring him in for Arsenal and Man City, but for game week 12, he's one to keep an eye on for me. I think he could possibly be in there. I do worry about his minutes though. Have to keep an eye on it. Good news is Champions League, he wasn't playing against Rangers. So again, is that because he's rested and saved for bigger games? Don't know, we'll have to wait and see. But I do like the idea of Firmino. It's just those minutes that worry me. Finally, one last player to look at is Callum Wilson. Now, I do have the ability, I've got the money to go from Mitrovic to Wilson. And I think Wilson's got the fixtures that Mitrovic has got. You could argue that the Newcastle side is a better side at the moment. Brentford at home, Man U away. Do you know what? I could still see Newcastle scoring at Man U. Everton at home, definitely. Tottenham away, difficult. Villa. So he's got 3 pretty decent fixtures there, all at home in the next 5 games. That is interesting to me. I do quite like him. His XGI is fantastic at 1. 3 goals. It's stop-start all the time for Wilson. He's averaging 5 points a game, but he's not been playing 90 minutes very often. Hence his XGI is so high. I do like him. If he's fit, we know he plays up front. What Isaac's return, how that will impact him, have to wait and see. Just not 100% sure. But Wilson, I could upgrade from Mitrovic. I don't think, unless we get news about Mitrovic being injured for more than 1 week, that I will bring him in. But if Mitrovic's out for 2 or 3 weeks, I think Wilson's got to be the one for me that would slide into the side. That's it for this one then, guys. Let me know in the comments below, who are you transferring in for game week 10? Is there anyone that I've missed that you think we should be looking at? We'll come back at you with a game selection, team selection video by the end of the week. In the meantime, guys, take care. Speak to you soon.